bring in our guest and let's talk about this. Here with me, the board-certified forensic psychiatrist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Good morning to you both. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, this is one of those cases, tugs at your heartstrings. Those students on the campus still shaken after what happened to this student just going on a run. I'm curious your assessment of the behavior that's alleged here with Jose Ibarra. What the allegations against him are showing that he was watching and waiting and preying upon Laken Riley. That is the allegation. What does that say to you about his mind, Dr. Carol?
Well, and there was a charge. I thought there was also a charge of with intent to rape. You know, I think that I don't know all the aspects to it, but I think that was probably what he was after rather than just killing her. But in any case, this is a classic case. She seemed like such a sweet girl. She was a nursing student. You know, she wanted to help people. It just seems like such a classic case of how people need to be stopped earlier. He had been arrested for other infractions, other arrests, other problems, other crimes that he committed, and yet, he was let go. And this is what happens. I mean, we've all seen this way too many times, that they get let go, and then they keep on committing crimes, and oftentimes it's worse and worse crimes.
Yes, Dr. Carroll, you are right. And yes, your memory serves you correctly. Aggravated assault with intent to rape is one of the charges against him. He's got 10 charges total. The top count is malice murder, along with multiple counts of felony murder, kidnapping, aggravated battery. We know there's that charge of obstructing or hindering a person from making an emergency call. They say Laken Riley was trying to call 911, and the allegation is that he stopped her. He's charged with tampering with evidence, and there's a peeping Tom charge in Georgia as well. I want to bring back in our guest, board-certified forensic psychiatrist, Dr. Carol Lieberman, and Deputy Public Defender in LA County, Philip Dubé. Dr. Carol, I want to go to you first, please, as the Athens-Clarke County Coroner's Office confirmed that Riley died from blunt force trauma to the head, and that her skull was disfigured. The coroner found her skull was disfigured with some type of object. The report doesn't specify what kind of object, but she was beaten so badly, her skull perhaps beaten beyond recognition. Dr. Carroll, what does that say to you about what may have been going on in the mind of her killer?
Well, it shows that he was very angry, and that he, well, first of all, the part about her trying to call 911, I think that is the saddest, the most chilling part of the whole thing, because here you could just imagine her trying to, having enough presence of mind in the moment to think, well, I can try to call 911, and then he even takes that away from her, and then beating her so ferociously. It just, it shows how angry he is towards her or in general, and wanting to take out all of this, perhaps because she rejected him, in his attempt to kidnap her or rape her or whatever, that infuriated him.
Mm-hmm. Right. So rage, would you call this a rage killing, Dr. Carroll?
Yes. And what's interesting is that you usually see this kind of thing when it's people who know each other, who have a relationship with each other, when it's that kind of a killing where there's so much rage. But here they were presumably strangers, and yet he still had this much rage.
Just awful. In addition to rage, if Jose Ibarra is the guy, and it's the state of Georgia who says he is, he also had a warrant out for his arrest at the time. Allegations, show that he and his brother Diego were facing charges in Georgia in a theft case. A small amount of stolen goods from a Walmart, about $200 worth. And there was a warrant out for his arrest at the time of Laken Riley's murder. So something to think about here. Philip, do you think it's going to be challenging for Jose Ibarra to get a fair trial?
No, not at all. I really do believe that even though this crime was committed in that jurisdiction, that you can find 12 fair and impartial people. You really can. No matter what, people want justice. All that really matters is that whoever they voir dire during jury selection has not made or formed any final opinions. If they have not been influenced in any way by all the news reports, the stories, all the hoopla surrounding his arrest and obviously the death of the young nursing student, people really, at their core, are fair, impartial, honest folks who want to do their civic duty fairly and honestly. And I think it's clear to many people that this young man right now is sort of caught as a political football, if you will, with the whole immigration debate in this country. You've got, on the one half of the spectrum, you've got people who say, see, this is what happens when you have undocumented people in this country. And then you have the other people who came from other countries or they are descendants from other nations who say, no, just because you have an undocumented person here doesn't necessarily mean they're going to commit crimes. And by the way, Julie, you cannot believe how many Americans commit crimes abroad. Okay, Americans get arrested every day in Europe. They get arrested in Canada. They get arrested in Africa. So to say that Americans are just, the paragon of purity and probity in the criminal justice world is just a fallacy, So, but in answer to your question, he can absolutely get a fair trial. Not to mention, many people descend from Venezuela, and they can understand why the young man came to this country to begin with. Nobody at this time wants to be in Venezuela because of the tyrannical regime.
Dr. Carroll, what about the really, really graphic nature of the evidence this jury is going to have to review when they look at beautiful Laken Riley, in which she looked at autopsy? How might that play into a jury's decision when you see something so gut-wrenching?
Yes, certainly jurors, when they agree to become a member of the jury, they have good intentions. But, first of all, there's something called unconscious bias. So, this case has been all over the place many times. Yes, there are some political, of course, connotations to it, and some people will agree with that, and some people disagree with that. But they certainly, unless they were hiding under a rock, they had to have seen or heard some of it. So unconscious bias, in other words, whether they, are also made angry about the fact that there's this danger of people coming across the border, or whatever they may be pushing these things apart. Now, when it comes to looking at the photos, that, of course, breaks through any unconscious bias. That is really very, very damning. Will affect the jury and their opinions.
Right. Dr. Carol Lieberman, attorney Philip Dubé, wonderful having you both on the program. Thank you so much for everything this morning. Have a wonderful weekend.